Myself, I'm Anvesh, and I've been working as a lead automation engineer at IBM for almost 3 years. My area of specialization is mostly with the automation, QA, and bit of DevOps, and also a bit of cloud. So, uh, for today's meeting, I just wanted to give you what is Cypress and what are the special features of Cypress and why Cypress is best when you compare between certain automation tools in the market at the moment. And I would also like to discuss a simple end-to-end flow on how we can extend the level of code quality and also the test coverage. So we will discuss all of them, and I've prepared the presentation, and we also have some live demo coming up. I won't take much time. Let's make it quick as well, so we can discuss more on doubts and concerns and questions. All right, so let's jump into the presentation. First of all, what is Cypress? I think most of us have heard of it by now. It's a front and back end testing tool. The beautiful part of it is it's an open source. We do have a commercial licensed Cypress dashboard available if you're really looking to get a license and get all the advantage of using Cypress, but most of the part it's open source, freely available. And why Cypress is used? Like, you can write your unit test, integration test, front end test, back end verification test, whatnot. Like every single test or every single aspects of the test coverage of the applications can be done and implemented using Cypress. And as you all know, Cypress is completely written in JavaScript, and it mostly uses JavaScript as its core programming language. And it does uses the Mocha and Chai frameworks. And Cypress is completely architecturally different from Selenium, and we're going to talk about why and how. So the next slide, I wanted to give you guys an brief information on how the Cypress structures work. So I'm not sure whether any of you have already been familiar with working with Cypress, but just wanted to bring in from ground level zero so everyone can have an idea. So as soon as you install your Cypress automation tool, it comes up with a protocol like a standard structure, as you can see. So the Cypress would be the core folder, and you have four important directories in it. The first one is the fixtures. That's where you basically save all your standard uh, constant test data or the locateds that you use in your front end or any of the testing. So it's basically save all the static variables or the test data you work with your automation or end-to-end testing. So that's where you save all of them. And the integration is the core folder where all your spec files, all your test cases reside. And you have an option to save or implement your own plugins or extend plugins from the Cypress documentation it's been providing for us. So all the plugins or any other extended features can be added into the plugins folder. And the support folder is basically containing the core command.js file. So which enables us to use all the Cypress API methods and commands that's been by default given for us. And also it gives you an access to implement your own commands as well. Right. So these are the four folders, and that's how the whole Cypress structure works. And it comes of course, with the Cypress.json file, which is the core, I would say, heart of Cypress automation tool. That's where you configure each parameters and everything, whatnot. I mean, you all will have a live demo, and you can have a clear understanding on how each of them work. So going forward, I think this is one of the best slide. I picked it up. So what happened before Cypress into the market? I think, for example, if you're looking at using Selenium or any other automation tool, what you have to do is basically you install Selenium. You need to pick up a framework, let's say Mocha or Jasmine, and you need to make sure you install all the assertion libraries, and you need to add extended dependencies, dev dependencies, whatnot. Like it's a whole lot of mess. And also the most important thing, you need to choose a wrapper. Like, are you going for the protractor, WebDriver, night watch, like I'm sure you all have heard these words, and Selenium is been in the market for so long, and it is one of the reliable and stable automation tool. And I personally worked with Selenium. But right after the Cypress came into the market, I think it's just one single framework called Cypress. Like, you don't need to bother or worry about adding or installation process. Like, it saves a bunch of time for you literally. And you're going to see that how things are completely different from what we used to have earlier and now. So moving on, let's jump onto the Cypress demo. So for that, I'm just simply going to open a new tab. First thing I want to show is Cypress Documentation. So if you click on Cypress Documentation, that's the first link. So this is like Wikipedia for Cypress, for beginners who really wanted to start working with the Cypress, or any professionals who are trying to migrate to Cypress from any of the existing tools they're looking for. I think this would be the important documentation to start off. So if you look at it, if you click on the getting started on the left side, and you have installing Cypress. So click on installing Cypress. Nothing to worry about. Depends on what operating system you're using. So if you scroll down, the standard one is basically npm install Cypress. So that's the single command you need to install everything into your local system. And yeah, so in order to save time, I've already installed. This is my local system. And just so what I did, I basically created a demo folder, and I've ran npm Cypress install, and it comes with the standard folders structure, and also these couple of files, as I mentioned earlier. So as we discussed, it does have a core Cypress folder, and in it, it has fixtures, integrations, plugins, and support. When you install freshly, it does comes with some example spec files in the integration folder, but I've removed all of them for the demo purpose. Now, so since we have the setup ready, now we wanted to test. We want to test something. Let's jump back to the Chrome again. I think Anton have suggested me this a local or a demo web application, Conduit, I think. Yeah. So this is a sample website that I'm going to use it for demo today. So what we're going to do, we just wanted to test the login flow of the application, right? So this is the website, and this is the home page. So in order to log into the application, you need to create a user ID and password, which I've already did it. So I'm going to show you everything in manual first case. So this is my application. First thing I would do is visit the page. Then obviously I would like to click on sign in button and enter my email, puli@gmail.com, right? And some password for that, 1, 2, 3, and sign in. So once I sign in, what is the proof that the flow worked properly? I think making sure I do have my account name on this profile icon. If I click on Anvesh, so it's gonna say that, okay, this is your account and you're logged in. So this is the simple end-to-end flow that we're gonna use it for the demo. So now let's just click here to log out, and again we are back to the home page. So in Selenium or any other tool, the first thing you do is basically get the URL and try to visit the page. And the first step is basically clicking the sign in. So what you do, you go to the sign in option, not just go back. So when you click on inspect in Chrome browser, it shows you the element ID or the class or div tag. So what you have to do is basically copy paste the element and then implement that into your code. With the Selenium, that's the process. Implement into the code, and if you're lucky enough, if it's not too complicated, you might get you might be able to get the element in the first try itself. If not, you might have to, just go to the element and go to the copy, and then you'll have like bunch of options to work on, right? So this is kind of a big hectic for any automation developer. So now let's just quit this, close the tab, uh, and okay, this is the back, and let's just go back to the project setup what we have. So nothing written yet. In order to demo, if you click on the integration folder, I've already created a level 1, level 2, level 3 specs. So you're gonna understand why I did that. So first of all, level 1. Okay, so nothing fancy, nothing to worry about whether you're good with JavaScript or not. The describe is a function. That's where you describe the test suite or the title of the test you're trying to implement. So what I did is basically conduit sample demo. That's my test suite title. And when you start a test case, it is an operator where you start to use it, and you have to, it's kind of a class, and you define your steps inside it, right? So it, and the title of my end-to-end test case is log into the application. Pretty simple, nothing stressed, nothing complex. So now let's just write the code, right? So very basic, sci is the operator what we use in Cypress. Sci dot visit, and open the brackets, hyphens, and then now all you need to do is just go back to the site, copy paste the URL, and copy paste inside the string, and semicolon, boom, done. So save it. Now all you have to do is npx Cypress open, and you click on, once you install the Cypress properly, that's the command when you if you want to open the test runner tool. So the moment you open the Cypress npx Cypress open, this is the test runner. Just gonna give you a walkthrough. So the test tabs contains all your spec files. And if you have a Cypress dashboard subscription, which I was talking about earlier, like you need to pay get a license for 6 months or per annum, then you might have a record of all your test bills and all of that. But most of the teams they don't want to use it, depending on how secured is your project and the company you're working for. But I can tell you, you can literally do all 100% usage of Cypress without even having the commercial subscription, just for the free. So that's where this tab is all about. And if you go to the settings, it's going to give you what all the configuration the Cypress.json file has. We're going to discuss about it, and what Node.js version, proxy settings, and you have some experiment, blah blah blah, whatnot. Everything pretty straightforward. And for this, on here you have cross-browser testing. So you can either choose Electron or Chrome or Firefox or any other browsers that you have installed in your local system. So when you run the Cypress, it automatically detects whatever the browser systems you are having in your core operating system, and that's going to give you a bunch of options here. So for now, I have Electron, Chrome, and Firefox installed in my system, and that's why it's going to give you the 3 browsers to run. Okay. So now let's just jump back and click on level 1. That's what we are writing now, right? So when you click on level 1, okay, there's some typo there. Okay, it's just side dot. Okay, save it. Just go back. Okay, I hope everyone is seeing the screen. Okay, so pretty fast, like not even 2 seconds, 1.6 seconds. So if you refresh it again, it's visiting the page and it just got loaded. That's pretty awesome. So now we have to do, the next step is basically clicking on the sign in and then enter your username, password, and then log into the application, right? But as I said, if you want to perform things in other tool, you got to go click on the inspect element and do all of that nonsense. But for the Cypress, you have a wonderful tool that's inbuilt within it called Open Selector Playground. So what you do, just click on the Open Selector, and then the whole page gets highlighted. So the next step is basically clicking on sign in. So click on it. The moment you click on sign in, you can see a code generated already for you. So just copy the code and go back to your Visual Studio Code, copy paste it. So site.get Get is an predefined API command in Cypress where you're trying to get the element. It's going to give you the best possible element ID. Let's say it can be ID or class or div tag or list, whatnot. So all you do, all you need to do is just copy that and paste it. Again, semicolon, enter, save it. So the moment you save it, it goes with the live reload option as well. So now for the second step, when you hover the second step, it's highlighting the sign in button on the right side. But now what you have to do, so it got the element. Now all you need to do is go there, just dot operator. We just need to click it. Click. That's another API method in Cypress. So again, refresh it, go back to the page, click. There you go. Now you're directed to the login page. Same process. Go to the Open Selector Playground, click on email, copy that, come back. Okay, so copy paste. Now, so when you're grabbing the email form, now you don't want to click it. You basically write your email. So for that, you have a type operator, pretty straightforward with the naming convention as well. And columns, Anvesh, Puli 12@gmail.com. There you go. And semicolon, save it, jump back. There you go. It's pretty fast. So that's it. Now the next step, password. Copy, come back, paste it. Again, same process, type. I'm going to give my password. No one's going to copy this, very confidential. I have a lot of information into it. So control save it, just jump back, password is done. It's pretty smart that it's gonna hold its confidential things like password as well, because since it's already been using the same origin page in the tool. Now all I have to do is the sign in. So go to the open place selector, click on sign in. Sorry, copy that. Yeah, copy that. And for sign in, I think we have to use click. So click, done, semicolon, save. There you go. And the last thing we want to do is we want to verify whether it's my account or not. So I need to make sure I have Anvesh on this top right corner button. So I'm going to go there, click on Anvesh, copy that, and paste that. Now once you get the the element, here we're not clicking, here we're not typing anything. We wanted to make sure it's there. So simple, contains Anvesh. There you go. Save it. Control save. There you go. Boom, boom, boom. Done. So even when you see on the left side on the code base, it's going to say whether it got, when you click on that, it says whether Anvesh is present or not. So everything goes good. We have a successful end-to-end test flow running. And now, so yeah, this is how you can simply write a end-to-end test flow. Now, this is just level 1. Okay. The reason I mentioned it's a level 1, because if any of the clients or if any of your team or if you're working professionally, no one wants to look at your code and see what's this nth child element 2, or what is this button dot operators, and why are you keeping your credentials and username and password as hard coded, right? You don't want to do that. So that's why now this fixtures folder come in. So what I did, to save time, I've already created a file called conjugate locators, which locates the elements. So if you click on the file, what I did, I named login variable and copy paste the login element ID. And for the email form, I've used the element ID. I've saved everything accordingly, right? So because this page is kind of a standard one, and all the if you even go to the original page, and if you see, the sign in button is a standard one, the email form you fill in is a standard element, and the password, it's a standard one. So when you have something that's been standard and static, I think it's good idea to go and save them in your locators, the fixtures data. So once I did that, now let me open level 2. So you see now, So for the level 2, nothing to worry. So now the site.visit, you're not pasting the URL anymore, because that's where you go to the cypress.json file, which, as I mentioned, that's the core file of the Cypress automation tool. And you have a parameter called base URL, and you can copy paste the URL of the application. And all you need to use is just // that's going to automatically trigger the Cypress to visit the web URL. So if you go back to the locators, yeah, so these are the ones I've saved. So what I did, basically I imported as app from fixture/conduit locators. So I imported all these locator file using an app constant variable, and now it's like site.get app.login .click, site.get app.email .type username. So now, because it's a credential thing, and it should be something like the standard protocol to not hard code anything. So if you go to the Cypress, what I did, I created an environment JSON parameters. So I've saved my username as Anvesh Puli and password here, and that's why you see me creating some the variables let username is equal to Cypress dot its core folder environment, and I want to use the username which I've saved into it. It's the same thing with the password. So now I'm using this username and password into my test case. And you can also say that you can still save this username and password inside your fixtures, but just to give you a guys example on how you can how flexible it is to perform things in Cypress. That's the reason I've showed you guys this. And also, it's not ideal, the password and username you're not be using in any of the other test flows. It's just for when you log into the application. So it makes much more sense saving it inside the login application as a constant variables, right? So now let's go back to the tool. Let's close this and now click on level 2. If you click on level 2, same functionality, same thing. But you can see how we have advanced from this to this, right? So this is kind of a implementation, like becoming more professional, more quality, more elegance when you write a test case or develop things. Now, so okay, that's pretty fine. We have started from level 1, we have jumped to level 2. The code looks cleaner, neat, very nice. So what can we do further? Now, if you imagine going back, for example, as a software developer or a tester, I've given this application to run test. So what I do is basically when I sign in and go into the application, I might perform a different actions, right? So for example, let's just log in reality. Okay, that's password. So the first login into the application is done, right? So then I might get a documentation saying, hey, Anvesh, you need to perform whether the new post is working. You need to make sure whether the settings are working. You need to make sure whether your profile is working and people able to see the favorite articles being posted. So there'll be a lot of things that you need to test in your application, but one thing is pretty much constant, logging into your application. So not just the elements being constant, you have saved them into the fixtures. You can also make sure when you have a constant end-to-end flow, which you can also save that as a command. So that's where when you go to the support folder, that's where the command.js comes in. So what I did, if you click on the command.js, I created a command called cypress.commands. This is the basic API, and add log in. So what I did, just simply copy pasted everything and saved as a command. Now, if you go to the level 3, all you have is just site.login. You're just calling the command. So just go back to the Cypress tool again, click on level 3. Same thing. That's all. So that's how you go to the next level. And the one thing you can see that's been added is a before API. That's basically says that before doing anything with your test cases or running your application, I want to perform whatever I mentioned inside the before class. So in the before, you need to log into the application. Then you might go and adding more test cases, basically, creating your standard whole articles or whatnot. So you can add now a number of test cases into that. So that's where the describe comes in. And also, for example, you're working for a real-time project, and whenever you log into a new application as a new user, you have this walk me function calls, hey Anvesh, welcome to the Facebook. uh, so this is the tab where you can chat with the users, this is the tab where you can click on your profile. So you'll have a walk me saying these are the steps of the function, welcome to the site, right? So in that case, whenever you're trying to run each test case, you need to skip the walk me, right? So for that, you also have a option called before each. So there's like bunch of options you can work on it. So that before each gonna make sure it skips every single time when you run an end-to-end test case. So basically before is for the whole spec file, and before each for each and every test cases you implement into Cypress. So this is just level 3, right? So I'm working with IBM. I think I would say we are right now at level 5 or maybe 6. So if you go deeper, it comes more complicated. For example, like especially you're working for a security protocols and stuff, you're not permitted to access your security applications, and then you might have to come up with a workaround solution. You need to have an changes that needs to come into your Chrome browser that you're using. You need to have a lot of site cookie issues. Things get little crazier when you go ahead, but this is the standard way on how you can start off and how you can develop on what you have to make it much more efficient and proficient, and also looks cooler and easy for people who understands, right? So I'm a non-technical guy, and when I come in to see, like for example, I'm a project manager, and I wanted to see how your automation or your testing works. So when I look at the code, it says, okay, conduit sample demo. Okay, so site.login. So I can understand, okay, it's a function predefined, which is trying to log into the application. That's pretty smart, right? So these are the few things. I hope there's a lot to discuss and there's a lot to explore in Cypress, but given time, I think that's the demo for now on the live demo. And let's just quickly cover what else we have. So yeah, there you go. Let's talk about the Cypress pros. Faster end-to-end testing. You have seen that. Time travel. Okay, that's pretty cool. Let's go back to the Cypress. Where are you? I think it's been shut down. Cypress open. Right. So any of the, let's say level 1. Okay, pretty cool. So if you go back to you have seen how fast it runs and the time travel screenshots before and after. Okay, so when you become or work for a professional project, you use the virtual machines like using the Jenkins pipelines, Docker containers to run your test and automation builds and all of that stuff, right? So when you're testing manually, like what we're doing right now, you can see, okay, this is where it went wrong. So there's something which I've done wrong. So probably, for example, right? So just go back to the level 1 and say, instead of containing Anvesh, it will say Anton. Let's say Anton. Save it. So it's going to run. Okay, there you go. So it's running, and it's trying to get Anton, and it does have a time limit that's been specified around 30 to 60 seconds in order to give us an update saying, okay, I've tried reaching Anvesh, but I haven't found Anvesh, and that's why your test case have been failed. So in this case, let's wait for 5 more seconds, I guess. Okay. All right. So in this case, as you can see, the timeout has been given 30,000 milliseconds. It's basically 30 seconds, and it was not able to find. And the fun part is it's also giving you which line the code went wrong. So just jump back and you can basically update the code where it went wrong. So this is all can be done in manually doing, but things when you're running virtually, you're not able to find what's happening and where it went wrong. So that's why it does also comes with a screenshot option. For example, when you perform any action like click, see, when you click on the click, it's going to give you the before and after results, right? So you can see the small red icon saying that, okay, when you asked me to click on sign in and I did, this is my operator. And after the sign in, I fetched the status call, it said 200, and then I got into the home page. So it does have a single screenshot of every movement of test you run on an application. For a developer or any of the resources, it's going to make our job much easier knowing what actually went wrong. So that's the beauty of Cypress. And if you jump back, I think it has screenshots before and after, and it has a bunch of debugging tools. I don't want to discuss more and spend some time on it. And we have seen how the open selector playground, that's kind of a game changer for Cypress. And automatic waiting. The beautiful thing of Cypress is basically in Selenium, for example, if you're hitting if you visit a page and you're trying to click, for example, whatsoever the reason, it might be network, it might be the database that's been taking so much time at that particular instant. If the wait time is gone, for example, in Selenium, we have given page load timeout for 30 seconds. After 31, it's going to right away say you it's failed, no matter what's happening with the application. But in Cypress, if the 30 seconds are done, and if Cypress sees that there is some background work or there is some status calls going on the back end of the application, it's going to give you a smart wait time of 5 to 10 more seconds in order to understand whether it's really expecting some result to it. So that's a game changer as well. And a lot more, guys, like locating elements. It's pretty easy. Real-time reloads, we have seen that. You have an option to see the screenshots and videos after every test build. It's just that if you go back to your cypress.json, all you need to do is enable everything. So for example, I have this video option as true. So if I need to enable the video, all I need to do is add a script for it, passing the video parameter is true in the script, or the command what I've run in the command line. I think most of us have already known about it, and it's pretty clear in the documentation. And the plugins, that's a game changer. When I say the plugins, we go to the advanced features, and we go to the advanced features. You have like different plugins that gives you a better performance of your whole automation setup, like Cypress commands, Chrome web security, experimental cookies, Cypress testing libraries, and you also have a Cypress ESLint plugin that's going to make sure you have the quality of code base and spacing, semicolons, everything's been configured in a better way. And you have a Mocha awesome merge reporter. It's just like a Allure report. Most of us have worked with Jenkins, I guess. So it's like a Allure report. It's going to give you a detailed explanation of number of test cases, how much time it has taken to complete the build, and what of the test cases have been failed, passed, whatnot. So then moving on, and you also have this continuous integrations, pretty important. We have Docker. You can use the virtual Docker machines to run your Cypress automation. All you need to do is download the latest Cypress Docker image and integrate into your test folders, and you can do amazing jobs with the Docker, run multi-containers, cross-browser testing, parallelization, whatnot. It's like sky is the limit. It's just that you need to understand and talk to your team on what you're really expecting of. And we have Travis that's been integrated, Jenkins, GitLab, Circle CI, too many guys. So if you go back to the documentation, I think this is the core. Like, as I said, if you click on the API tab, you have all the commands, what each of everything does, and you have like whole set of predefined events that you can use, and the plugins. So this is the awesome extension of Cypress. So if you click on the plugins, there you go. So you have each category, for example, the preprocessor, development tools, reporting tools, custom commands. Oh my God. Like I have to go on.
Sorry to interrupt. Yep. Weibin is asking, what Cypress plugins do you use daily, and do you have any favorite plugins?
Yeah, these are my favorite plugins. So for now, currently we are, let's go back to the question. Okay, we use Cypress command. We use the Chrome web security because I work for IBM security, and we have a lot of issues with accessing our applications using Chrome browser with the Cypress automation tool. So we use some experimental cookies, and we have literally worked on a workaround solution for ignoring the X-frame header and cross origin issues. You can dig a little more of it. And we're using the Cypress testing libraries as well. And we use the SLint, and we also use the Mocha Awesome merge reporter. Not right now, but initially we have used this. So my favorite things are especially the integration tools. We are using Docker and also Jenkins. That's the core part of our test builds. That's where we show client or user, okay, these are the pipelines, these are the test builds we are running, and these are the end results. I wish I can show you my work, what we have, the whole setup, but uh, 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 it's
Then
kind
you
of
will have to kill us.
yeah, yeah. So nevertheless, I just want to conclude saying each tool has its benefits and also some backside. But for me, especially Cypress cons would be just these three things. First thing, for now, it is not able to support multiple tabs. Like for example, if you're having a application that needs to test multiple tabs as well at the same time, like basically you can't click on new post and you can't literally open another tab for that, right? So that it's not possible at Cypress at the moment. Hopefully we'll come up with a solution for that. And it only supports JavaScript. I'm not sure most of us, like when I started working with Cypress, I was like 50-50 in JavaScript, but it's not really complicated. We use almost 70 to 80% of the Cypress API commands and methods. It's just 20 to 30% you use your JavaScript fundamentals or programming skills. And the one thing, the regular updates and change logs. So if you go back to the Cypress original documentation, if you go to the reference, if you go to the, I think it's roadmap. I hope so. Nope. Change log. Yeah, change log. Okay, perfect. So, okay, trust me, guys, you can see the latest version of Cypress is 9.6. If you scroll down, maybe Cypress 1. Where is 1? Yeah, 1.4, and yeah, there you go. So I have been working with Cypress from 1.42 version, and it's been just a couple of years, and you can see how the development works. Like there'll be a month where you'll have three or four new releases coming in. So from 1.4 to 9.6. So there's been a lot of growth personally for me working with Cypress. They have the Cypress Gitter channel where people using Cypress all around the world can post the issues, and there's like Cypress team in the channel. They give us some solution, and there's a Cypress GitHub channel where if you have any issues or if anyone is having some things that they didn't like it or they're looking to have an improvement, there's always been stories logged in, and the Cypress team keeps working on it and improve eventually. For example, like when I started using Cypress 2 or Cypress 3, the site cookies were a big issue for us in order to handle them for the security aspects. And in Cypress 6.6, they have released that, okay, now teams don't need to bother. We are here to solve your problem. And then they made the experiments as a, just a plugin. Like they have come up with this experimental run events, experimental source studio. So it's like whatever the problems we had earlier, they come up with all the solutions for that. So for me, Cypress is an ongoing and futuristic tool. Definitely, and I can 100% say that because I've been working with it. And yeah, these are the only 2 or 3 drawbacks for now. I see it. It may not be an issue for most of us, but yeah. And finally, my thoughts. I think I've literally covered most of the things. Uh, I would love to discuss much more, but for me, if you're a beginner, if you're a fresher who's starting to work your way into quality assurance or testing or automation, I think starting off your career with the Cypress automation tool will be a wonderful thing to start off, because personally for me, it has a lot of feature. It has a lot of functionality. It has a lot of flexibility and freedom to integrate n bunch of different services and plugins, advanced features, whatnot. Uh, so there's like funny comparison, I would say. Selenium or any other tools is like a standard old Spider-Man from Sony Productions. His just very genuine. His natural made, his stable, is pretty awesome. That's great. But Cypress is like the latest Marvel Spider-Man suit, where you have all the nanotechnology, bunch of options. Like even Peter Parker is still trying to figure out what kind of more options he has to work with his suit and stuff. So if you don't want to enable a special feature in Cypress, you just don't want to use it. If you want to use it, you can use it. It's like completely controllable. Depends on how complex your project and how good you really want to develop your automation for your clients, for your team, whatnot. So I would say, yeah, one of the best tools I've worked so far, and I'm working with it. It's been a couple of years and looking forward for much more development. I've heard few seminars from Cypress team saying they're trying to import AI into it. They're trying to import machine learning into it. It's a lot of fun for sure. So that's it for me today, guys. And if you guys have any questions rather than this presentation, always feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. And big thanks to Anton for giving me this chance. And now I'm going to leave it up to the people if you have any questions to discuss.
Yeah, sure. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for great introduction. I really like the way you showed evolution of the code. Yeah, it's great to see how you start and then you improve iteration over iteration, and your code looks more clean.
Cleaner, yeah.
And I really enjoy such examples. And as you already said, there are a lot of more information about Cypress. Maybe later on you will also describe it. But for now, let's just discuss what we have heard. We already have some questions.
Yeah.
Shashank is saying that many plugins like Upload are published by individuals and they might be not maintained in future. So
right.
Did you tackle such problems with the plugins?
So yeah, why not? Like that's a good question actually. So for example, let's jump back to the reporters. Yeah, there you go. So initially when we are working for, like when I was working for the IBM automation, we do not have an access to Jenkins to basically run our automation builds or test whatnot, right? At the time, we wanted a tool to use and show, hey guys, these are the number of test cases we have, these are the pass percentage we have, this much, these are the test code coverage we have, whatnot. So at that time, the Mocha Awesome Merge Reporter was one of the essential tool for us, as that's a plugin. So if you just go to the Cypress plugins, go down, there'll be an option, extending framework tool, authentication, component, visual testing. Where's the reporter? Okay, there you go, reporting. So in reporting, you have this Mocha Awesome Merge, right? So I would say, yeah, we used it and it did wonderful job. And eventually we got an access for Jenkins. So we have our own repo and we had to create our own pipelines. And Jenkins does have a lot of reporting tool plugins inside it, like Allure, which is pretty much same and much more efficient. So eventually we get rid of the Mocha Awesome Merge. It didn't hurt at all. It's like, as I said, if you're working with any other tool, you might have a lot of complications in it. For this, it's pretty simple. You add into it and you can see as a if you go to your package.json file, you can see where is it? Okay, yeah, you're probably going to see the dependency or the dev dependency saying Mocha Awesome Merge and its version. All you need to do is just remove it, and go for a fresher build and update your setup. So it wouldn't hurt for you in the future. As long it depends on how efficient you're in using any of the plugins, and eventually in the future, if you're not using it, you can happy to uninstall it, and it wouldn't hurt any of the existing setup what you have. That's pretty easy with Cypress. I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Maybe Shashank, you can unmute yourself and ask the second part about workarounds for problems rather than solving.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony, and great presentation. Actually, I had two questions. First one, I started using Cypress just 1 year back, so I'm not very I'm pretty new to Cypress. So one thing I saw, like whenever there is not an issue, but some limitations of Cypress, and now Cypress is a paid tool, it's no longer free. Like, there's a free version, but most of the companies use the paid version because of getting the dashboard and everything.
Right, makes sense.
So they always try to give a workaround. Okay, this doesn't work. Can you try to do this? Or someone will just develop a plugin, like because it's a TypeScript or JavaScript, you can just launch a plugin, and that plugin you can use, which might not be maintained in future. So recently I've seen that instead of solving the real problems, they are more focused on workaround. And where do I come from? This is like when I started in Cypress, it was good. Like we had an application of just 2-3 pages. So it was good. But when I used it, I felt it was meant for unit testing. If you see the architecture, whether it's making simple API calls, whether you can mock a UI, it was meant for more developers that they can expand the unit testing for the UI side, maybe make a complete API calls and do something more on the code side itself rather than going for integration testing, maybe integration testing of the components. But because it got famous with developers and they started using it, so when it came to test, it was like, okay, the developers are already using Cypress for their unit and their component integration testing. So let's use that too. But somehow I feel it was like the tool was meant more for unit testing, more for component testing, more for mocking the UI. And we try to transition into a integration testing. And when your application becomes big, okay, for a 2-3 page application, good. But like a banking application or let's say Amazon, there I think still Cypress lags on the integration testing part where you have to connect with different components, you have to do a third-party integration, whether it's multiple browsers, whether you have to test the extension as part of your test. Let's say I need to test an extension. So then I need to go like Protector. I need to go to a different tool. So when I started using Cypress, I felt like it was not the one-stop solution. Okay, for one thing, I use Cypress, then I might need to go to something else to use something else, then a third tool. So do you feel that it's still lagging on the integration and for a whole testing suite type of thing? Sorry for a long question.
First of all, yeah, it's not a question. I think it's a great topic to discuss on. But I think you have, Shashank, you have mentioned pretty realistic aspects and issues. That's been, of course, I've gone through all of them, what you mentioned earlier. So I can tell you, I can give you a vague answer, but not accurate enough. Pretty straightforward, right? So you said for you, it's like more of a unit component testing tool, right? But for me, it's more of a end-to-end automation UAT testing tool for me, because it depends. It varies on what project you're working on and what your team's ask is all about. So, for example, for us, we have a huge UI. Like I would say it's like a huge, big UI part for our application. I work for Cloud Pak Security, and my application name is we deal with data. So it's a huge application, got a huge UI part, right? So what we do, for us, the unit test is of course mandatory for us. For example, a front-end developer has been asked to develop a new UI component or new UI tab with new features. The development process, as soon as it's done, I think the developer is going to work on having some unit tests running for that. Like we have 2,600 or 2,800 unit test that covers our UI. And we didn't use Cypress at all. It's purely in JavaScript. They go for the unit test and that, right? So that's one big issue solved for my team. So for me, I wanted to make sure our application runs and works in each and every aspects, like the functionality, performance, regression tests, the new changes coming in, integration test. And I also wanted to make sure, for example, if my product or my application is in a user hand who might not be aware of a lot of technical aspects or the functionality of the application. So we also had a UAT team, user acceptance test, and we worked with them in writing end-to-end flows. basically logging into the application, doing the basic simple things, right? So those kind of flows are pretty important for us, because we rely on that, right? So if you have any technical issues, we have a technical team that's going to talk to the clients and resolve the issues. Hey, this is what's happening with you. You can just work on these things. But for me, for our team specifications, the end-to-end flows or the user flows is way more important than the unit tests or any of the component testing what we do, right? So for me, it's a different perspective, right? So for me, I would feel, okay, I think Cypress is one of the best thing to do and work with the end-to-end test flows. So for this question, I would say, as you said, if the companies are able to use the licensed version, I think it's pretty easy job for them, right? But few companies, like I work for security division, and we don't want to expose our code base or any of the project integrating the Cypress dashboard, because that's where you literally link everything to the automation tool, and then you probably might have to get the license for an year and keep working with them. But it wasn't the case for me. So as you said, I had to work my way around, literally struggled a lot initially at the stage. Like same thing, we had lots of security, cross origin, side cookies, whatnot. Like there was a time that we were really given up, or why are we complicating things? Let's go back to Selenium. But as you said, we have been patient. We have been developed a workaround solution, and we have been using Cypress for free as an open source till now. So I would say once you have the proper setup that fits into your era of automation or testing your application, I don't think you might need worrying about adding or removing plugins or having extra work into it, right? So that's what I said. It can be vague answer, but totally depends on what your team is expecting. Few teams are keeps on changing, right? Few teams are, as you said, for the banking application, you do mostly with the data searches, right? For a banking application, your important criteria to make sure the backend API hit points works in a proper way, because you're dealing with lots of confidential data. For us, it's different. My application is different. So but still, if you're smart enough, if you have what I would say, if you like challenging yourself in a higher level, I think coming up with workaround solutions bought me a lot of knowledge, that gave me a lot of insights in the automation field, and also testing. I've enhanced my skills, and as you said, there'll be a point. I really hope Cypress would bring in all of them together, and make sure, okay guys, this is the standard solution that you can use, and these are the things what you can expect from us. But given the demand and the lot of craze that's been piling up over the last couple of years for Cypress, I don't think they would give everything so easily for free access, right? Since they have the paid version, I think we have to deal with those certain circumstances, and we have to come up and work around solutions.